Kenny's in trouble. He's going to run. He's going to get the first down.
Don't sleep on those legs. Oh, he faked the slide. Sauce time. The Pitt Panthers have pulled a stunning upset over the West Virginia Mountaineers.
Testing.
And Johnny Majors gets a ride across the field.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Simplify. As always, I'm your host, Zack Kaminsky. A little bit of a bonus episode coming for you guys today. Just a solo show for me. I was able to get an interview and had a great time interviewing former Pitt Volleyball player Kayla Lund. She played for the Panthers between 2017 and 2022. Kayla finished her playing career last fall with the Final Four run with Pitt, and she's now playing overseas for NUC Volleyball in Switzerland. Before we get to the interview, and I will drop a timestamp in the podcast episode notes if you want to skip right to it. But I do want to kind of go over the program from its beginning and kind of outline the trajectory it's taken, because I think a lot of people that have went to Pitt and even follow some more Pitt sports than football don't know about, how good this program is. Just to kind of give you some quick facts here, since they founded their program in 1974, they have had a winning season every year, all but 4 years. Out of a total of 48 seasons that they've played, only 44 of them have been winning seasons, and their overall all-time winning record is a even 700. Well, one of the best winning percentages of all time, actually. And that includes 14 conference championships between the Big East and the ACC, and they appeared in 19 NCAA or national tournaments, not always NCAA, but they have not won the national title ever. So I'm going to start with the history and then talk a little about the current coach, Dan Campbell. So starting from the beginning, the program starts in 1974, and then it's immediately really good. They go 14-3, even though two of their starters had never played volleyball before. They make their first national postseason tournament invite, where they reached the quarterfinals. So in this third year, a former UC Santa Barbara player and current Pitt professor, Mike Hebert, is asked to coach the team for $1,500 in 1976. At this point, Hebert has never seen women play volleyball, but regardless, he gets to be a pioneer in women's sports history, as not many programs actually had them at the time. He brings them their first 40-win season in 1978, their first appearance in the AIAW tournament, where they finished 13th nationally. Then after he leaves, they turn to Ohio State assistant Shelton Collier. So in his first year, 1980, the guys school to a record of 41 wins, and that won't be broken. Pitt plays a max 34 games a year, or has played 34 games max in a year since moving to the ACC. And a 9th place national finish. Now, the NCAA takes over women's volleyball in 1982, 8 years after the program starts, and that was only 40 years ago from today. And then that same year, Pitt enters the Big East Conference, and it's their first year in the Fitzgerald Field House, and that is a absolutely great venue. If you've never been to a volleyball set, make your way down. It's actually really fun to go to. So Collier wins the inaugural Big East tournament, their first of 4 in 7 years, which is, I would say a dynasty, one of many that Pitt has gone through on the volleyball court. And in their non-championship years, 2 out of 3 times they are the runner-up to the Big East tournament, but unfortunately in these years they don't get past the first round of the NCAA tourney. By the way, Collier is still coaching at Wingate University. I think that's D3. So after Collier leaves, they hire Sue Woodstra, who's a silver medalist in the 1984 Olympics. She absolutely dominates. She wins the Big East for 4 years straight. They finished 18th nationally in 1990 after reaching the regional semifinal in the NCAA tourney, which is the furthest that they've gone in the tourney so far. The next coach after Sue Woodstra is a woman named Cindy Alvier. She wins 2 more Big East titles in 93 and 94, which makes that 7 straight Big East titles between 1988 and 1994. Pitt starts backsliding in the latter half of the 90s. They have their first losing conference record in 1999. And after that, after their 4-7 season in the Big East, they go and hire Chris Bierman, and he goes and actually has the program's first losing season of all time in 2001. He actually does win the Big East one in 2003. Goes to the NCAA tournament a couple times, but he can't really get it together. He doesn't go far in the tournament after his 2003 year. And then he sort of backslides after that. In 2008, they hired Toby Renz, who will coach the team through their last years in the Big East. He'll make the tournament all 5 years he coaches, but he is, by winning percentage, the worst head coach in the history of the program. And that record is still above 500. Unfortunately, finishing 6th in the Big East 3 out of 5 years will get you moved on from. And then we entered the ACC in 2013, and we hire a new coach, Dan Fisher. So he comes up from the NAIA division, where he led Concordia University, Irvine, to a natty with a 2-year combined record of 72-2. He immediately turns the program around after finishing in the middle of the pack in the Big East, 5th and 6th in his first 3 years. He finishes in the top third with a 4th place finish in 2016, which coincides with their first NCAA tournament appearance in over their first NCAA tournament appearance in over a decade. Their first one since 2004. Unfortunately, it doesn't get past the second round on this. In 2017, this is where the program really starts to get off its feet. 2017 is the first of 3 straight ACC titles, another one of those dynasties I was talking about earlier. He wins ACC Coach of the Year in 2017 and 2018. But in these 3 years, he can't get past the second round. Now, 2020, the COVID season, they don't win the ACC again, but they do reach the Elite Eight, which was at the time the farthest that the Pitt program had gotten in the postseason. And then 2021, there's an even better run in the postseason where they reached the Final Four, ultimately losing to the runner-up in Nebraska, who is a national powerhouse by volleyball standards. Now, just in his in his 9 seasons as coach, he has produced 4 volleyball All-Americans, Nina Markovic in 2018, Kayla Lund in 2019 and 2020, as well as Shinaza and D in 2020 as well. A lot of honorable mentions as well, including Amanda Orchard, Katie Cullercan, Jenna Potts, Stephanie Williams, Nina Markovic, Kayla Lund, Lainey Van Buskirk, Shinaza and D, and Chiamaka Nwokolo, as well as many of those players winning the award, being an honorable mention multiple times. And then, under the coaching of Dan Fisher, wins. Kayla Lund won the ACC Player of the Year twice, both in 2019 and 2020. We get into the future of the program more in the interview. I think I've set the table of how not really dominant of a program this has been, at least in regular season play, throughout history. And well, on the other side of the music, it'll be our interview with Kayla Lund.
You should be sitting up straight, but without stiffness.
So, actually, before getting to the interview, I thought it would actually be a good time to go over Kayla Lund's career highlights and accomplishments, starting from her freshman year in 2017. So in 2017, she was the ACC Freshman of the Week 4 times during the season. She was on the ACC All-Freshman team. She was the AVCA East Coast Regional Freshman of the Year The AVCA, by the way, is the organization that ranks volleyball teams, sort of like the AP poll for football. She was an AVCA All-America Honorable Mention in 2018. She was 3 times a preseason All-ACC player in 19, 20, and 21. She was 7 times chosen to be the ACC Player of the Week in 2018, 19, 20, 20, and 2021, 7 times throughout those 4 years. That is a program record. She was the AVCA National Player of the Week in September 2021. She was an All-ACC First Team in 2018, 19, 20, 20, and 2021. She was also the first player in program history to be chosen to the first team, as well as 2-time ACC Player of the Year in 2019 and 2020, the first girl from our program to be chosen for that award. She was on the AVCA East Coast All-Region team in 18, 19, 2020, and 2021, as well as the East Coast Region Player of the Year in 2019 and 2020. Goes to a couple other All-America teams, the Academic All-America Third Team in 2021 by Coach Sida, the VolleyballMag.com All-America Second Team in 2021, and the First Team in 2020. Received the Senior Class Award, All-America First Team recognition in 2021. And to cap it all off, she has her name etched in one of the stones on the varsity walk outside of the Cathedral of Learning, winning the Panther Award in 2020. And I think that sets the table for all of her accomplishments and what a decorated career she had. So without further ado, here's Kayla Lund.
Using proper rhythm, wiggle your fingers and jam the keys. A quick snap of the finger, and with practice, that's all there is to it.
I'd now like to welcome on our special guest, Kayla Lund, former Pitt Volleyball alumnus and All-American. How are you doing today?
Good. How about you? Thanks for having me.
I mean, I'm really happy you'd come on. I've been wanting to do an episode on Pitt Volleyball since we started the show, and I'm really excited you decided to come on and talk about it with us.
I love it. I love it.
All right, so I do want to start the conversation with a question that I have that I actually don't have the answer for. So I want to talk about recruiting for volleyball, because recruiting for football is this big publicized thing where, like, you have all these stars rankings, you have teams competing, their entire news agencies dedicated to what players and who they might be choosing. I tried to look up if you had a profile on like 247 Sports or something, and nothing came up. So what's it like being recruited to a volleyball program?
Yeah, so it's definitely not anything crazy how football does it. We don't have the stars. We're not posting where we got scholarships and offers to. We're not like publicizing that. But then once somebody commits, that's when it gets public. And so it's interesting because it's a little bit more private, a little bit more secretive. So then a lot of people always kind of, which has its pros and cons, because then so many people are like, oh, where were you deciding between? It's like this big like secret thing, when it's really probably not that like big of a deal. And so having the stars with football and like your rankings and stuff is insane. And I think it would be interesting to see. They do like a top 50, or they have like your top recruits and stuff like that, but it's definitely not as publicly known as football makes it seem. So recruiting in volleyball is interesting, more private. It used to happen really, really early on. They just changed the rules, I think this past year. But before, you could commit, you could talk to coaches as early as like, I don't even think they had like a schedule for it. You could talk to coaches in like 8th grade. You could commit as a freshman. Now there's a bunch of rules that just happened where I think you have to be a junior to now go on visits or talk to. I don't remember all of the details and stuff because I was already in college, but it literally just happened this past year, which I'm happy it did, because girls were committing so early on when they're 13, 14 years old. And that's a big change. Even if you commit as a sophomore, even if you commit as a junior, it's a big change from when you're like right out of 8th grade. I committed as a junior, and that was considered really, really late. Like coaches were putting pressure on me. Everybody was like, why haven't you committed yet? All this stuff. And I was, 16, 17 years old at the time, but it was considered really late. So it's recruiting in volleyball is interesting, but I'm glad that recently changed that rule so that, girls are committing maybe a little bit later, maybe when they're a little bit more like sure of themselves, sure of what they want, things like that.
So that later recruitment date, it does sort of follow like more of the football structure, I guess,
Okay.
because you have the official signing days and things like
Mhm.
that. I know that football recruits, you can get an offer. I have seen eighth graders getting offered. I remember one. But that is interesting. So I'm not going to make you reveal what other schools gave you an offer, but what made Pitt like? What was the reason you couldn't to Pitt? Like, I was doing some research for the episode, and like Pitt has I believe a 700 win percentage all time. Is that like, is it the history that really affects the volleyball recruitment? Is it the coach? I know that Coach Fisher was in, I believe, his third or fourth year when you would have gotten onto campus, or is it like how much do academics play into it, things like that?
So for me, it was almost all, if not 100% up to like the volleyball and the coaching staff and the girls, like everything with the program, that is what sold Pittsburgh to me. I was not a top recruit. Like I did not have a whole lot of options, especially to big name schools. And at the time, Pitt really in the volleyball community wasn't a big name. They had with Fish getting there, he was changing the program around, but they had just made the tournament for the first time in a while and stuff like that. And having a big name was like never a big deal to me mostly because in high school, I really didn't have a big name. And of course there were, like schools out here in California that I was really interested in, stuff like that. But I think if I had stayed out here, it would have been definitely a more comfortable option and the option that would have been made like for a bigger name, stuff like that. And so when I was making my decision, it was all like everything that the coaching staff and stuff like that they said to me. I just believed it and I wanted to be a part of it. And, when you go through the recruiting process, coaches, girls, everything will say kind of what you want to hear, but there's that difference of, okay, hearing what they're saying and then actually like believing what they are preaching. And ever since Fish started recruiting me in high school to every single day, day in and day out, like they stayed true to their word. They are honest and they just preached it and they acted it and they walked on it. And and I think I could like sense that through my recruitment. And so honestly, school was never, and unfortunately academics was never like the pull for me. It was definitely, I was like an athlete before student for a little bit there, especially in high school. Once I got to Pitt and like had a major and I just finished my master's, I never would have thought I would have been able to do that. But once I got to school at Pitt, then school definitely became more of a priority. And that's honestly because of our coaching staff and they make sure that we make school a priority. But for me, and then also like the city, when I was being recruited, I barely even knew, this sounds so bad, but being from California, just like in my tiny little bubble, I didn't even know where Pittsburgh was. I was like, what is Pittsburgh? Where is Pennsylvania? Like what, I've heard of the Steelers, but like, where are they? All this stuff. It sounds terrible now. But then I came here on campus and I was like, oh my gosh, so I came to the city and I was like, oh, this is beautiful. And then Pitt's campus was actually maybe a drawback for me at first because I was like, this is not your like typical college campus.
Yeah.
I've seen all these other college campuses. Both my parents played at Notre Dame. So I had grown up going to Notre Dame and seeing Notre Dame's campus. And so I was just like, oh, this is not what I was expecting. But I ended up obviously falling in love with Pittsburgh and the campus. I love the campus. It's what makes like Pitt. And so with all of those things kind of coming together, I just fell in love with Pitt, but really the driving force was like the coaching staff, the girls there, and just like the vision that Fish drew out and the coaches drew out and how much they believed in it. And I wanted to be a part of that, like that climb for them and help them like reach those goals.
I mean, when you said you didn't focus on academics, I couldn't help but think of the tweet where it's, I didn't come here to play school, but
Yeah, literally.
and I had a similar experience too. I'm from New York. I'd never been to Pittsburgh before. I
Uh-huh.
visited, I think, in my junior year. But again, it is the campus is different, but the city really does make it a great place to be.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
All right, let's move on to some actual volleyball talk. So we'll start with 2017, 18, 19. That's your freshman, sophomore, junior years, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So those are what I have dubbed the dynasty because that's 3 straight years of winning the ACC. Um, Now, looking back on like Fish's record, I mean, he climbs up from where the program had been kind of middling under the previous coach, and then he gets to a consistent about 25 wins per season in the seasons leading up to you being there. And then 17, 18, 19 is 26 wins, win the ACC, 30 wins, win the ACC outright both years. So
Mhm.
like that run, and that was my freshman year as well. That was, I remember going to a game. I remember being introduced to volleyball because they gave out like free sideline tickets, and I
Mhm.
cannot like, if I had to do it again, I would go to more volleyball games as a student. But that really got me seeing that like dominant team, that dominant performance, that fun atmosphere. Like, so those 3 years, what is it like? And like all of a sudden, so 2017, right? We go from fourth to first in the ACC, and then after that year, like it's almost like the target's on your back, right? Trying to defend the crown and everything like that.
Yeah. So going into my freshman year, our goal as a team was definitely like we had eyes on ACC. Obviously, our goal then was like make the tournament, and let's make a run in the tournament and kind of surprise some people. But at first, it
Hmm.
was like, okay, winning an ACC would be awesome. That would be just like so cool. And so when we were able to do that, that was like such a big deal. We were, and winning it every year is such a big deal, but especially that first year when we're like, oh, this is like our first milestone as a group. And then the next year going into season, it was like, hey, that was really cool. But this year, like, if we win it, great. Now we're looking at the tournament. We had made that
Hmm.
kind of step as a team where it's like, okay, winning ACC, awesome, love that. Gonna be like really cool. But our bigger goal and our main focus is going farther in the tournament. Same thing. And then after that first year, that's kind of what it was from there. It was like, okay, if we win the ACC, like, great, love that. We're going to take it with like a lot of pride and really like be proud of it. But our main goal is just making a run in the tournament and seeing how far we can go. So it was a really interesting shift to be like, hey, our ACC, like winning the ACC is a really big deal, to then, hey, now like we're at we're a good enough team to make a run in the tournament. If we win the ACC, great. We have to get into the tournament, and that's like our main goal. And so that shift it was a really cool shift. It was that a weird balance between like, hey, we want to be the underdogs while also,
Hmm.
hey, we're the target. And so I think all through ACC you go, I loved being both, because throughout the entire ACC, you're getting that practice of being targeted, and you have to show up every single game because everybody's going to play their best against you. And so you have to show up. You have to be good at not having an off night as a team. Individuals have off nights all the time, and we have to be a good enough team to uplift whoever's off. But like as a team, we have to be dialed in every single day. And then when you get to the tournament, it's kind of a unique shift to then be like, okay, now we're the underdogs. Now people think that we don't deserve to be here. Now people are like, who the heck is Pitt, kind of thing. And that's when we have to prove ourselves. So it was a cool balance that we would go back and forth and in between. That was fun, and it was good practice for all of us to play in both roles. So it was fun, and it was a cool dynamic to kind of see the program shift as a goal, from, hey, our big goal is ACC championship, and whatever happens at the tournament is awesome, to then, hey, if we win ACC, awesome, but we're, our main goal is that national title.
Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense. I mean it's really the mindset now in most pro sports, right? Is where the regular season really is just all for accolades, and then the postseason obviously is what matters, the championship. Um, so almost like funny enough that you should mention that the goal would then became the tournament as soon as you won it. So 2020, obviously the COVID year, but also 2021, you guys don't win the ACC, but then you do make those deep tournament runs. It's Elite Eight and then Final Four.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about that Final Four run because the teams you beat were, let me pull this up. The UMBC, Penn State, Kansas, Purdue, and then losing to the run-up in Nebraska. So from that run in 2021, what would you say was like your favorite moment of the tournament?
This tournament was crazy for me. I hadn't played like a month before because of injury. And so I emotionally, I was all over the place. I had really high highs and really low lows. And so my goal was to try to maintain that and just be like here and just be good. So, which works sometimes. For me as an individual player, Penn State was like, I played really well at Penn State. And then after that, and I felt good during Penn State, like health wise and injury wise. And then after that, I struggled until, and I didn't play that well in Nebraska, but then offensively. But for me was probably beating Purdue to get into the Final Four. Offensively, I was not good. And then so for me, I was like, okay, I'm not doing great here. I need to pick up my slack in other areas of the game, which is like the best part about being an outside hitter that plays all the way around is because, okay, if I'm struggling in this aspect, I still play defense, I still pass. So playing defense and passing was like, okay, hitting, it's not happening tonight. I know my teammates have my back and they definitely did. So I'm going to carry my load in a different way. But the coolest part about that was one, I think being able to do that at home and have our fan base there. And being surrounded by family and loved ones and so many people who have followed us through the years and seen us fail multiple times in the tournament before and do that at home to now be able to make the Final Four at home was really, really special. And then just the whole scene being in the Final Four then and competing in that and walking out into that arena and all the media and stuff that they did prior to was like really something special to be a part of. And obviously it didn't go our way, but just being in that atmosphere was one of the coolest things ever. And I would do it a bunch of times again. Obviously, if I could, even if we lost every time, I would still do it just to experience that feeling again and like have that opportunity to do it again. And then the last, like one of my favorite things about it was honestly get to see the coaching staff go through it. And they're very successful coaches and players, and they've won a bunch of stuff before. But they put in so much time and effort into us. And so to see just how happy and emotional they were with us, obviously we were very emotional through it, but to see them have those feelings and get to like hug them crying and after all of those wins was something that like I will remember for the rest of my life. I love my coaching staff with my entire heart. They are some of the greatest people I've ever met. They'll be in my life forever. I miss them so much already. So just to get to share those moments with them after we had been through so much through my 5 years, so many ups and downs, especially in the tournament, to share those moments with them was something I'll never forget.
That's awesome. So I want to go back to what you said about playing at home, right? Were the first 2 rounds played at home or first 3?
All the way. It was all the way until the Final Four.
Oh, okay. I did not know that. That's actually really cool. I like that better than how they do basketball. So talking about the Fitz, like that is a great place to play. The energy is really good. Like, I mean, talking as a fan, I like how the stands are so close to the court. Like,
Yeah.
I've never been to another volleyball arena as a fan, but like, how does the Fitz rank? Okay, and like three things. One is crowd noise, and then two is like almost the aura of the stadium in a way.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the
I mean, I've played in a lot of stadiums. I'm gonna stick with the Fitz till I die. I absolutely love it. I love the feel of it. There's nothing, and everybody will probably say this about their arena too, but there's
right.
nothing like walking out and seeing those fans, or when you guys get a point and you just like feel the floor shake. And it was cool also through my years to see the difference in growth, because, at the beginning of my career, we weren't very known. And so we would have parents in the crowd, and that was about it. Or maybe some of our friends, other athletes, and that was about it. To then having sold out crowds and having to bring down the upper bleachers, that was like some of like the coolest experiences. And I love our like the field house for that reason, because they're so close and everybody, you just are right there and it's intimate. And playing in the Pete was awesome because it's a beautiful arena, but we've played in other really big arenas too, but there's nothing like having that like really intimate, really engaged environment like at the field house. And so I love going and seeing other arenas as well, and other courts as well. There are some beautiful ones, but with volleyball, it's sometimes better to have, unless you have a crowd like Nebraska that's selling out their ginormous arena every time, which typically volleyball just doesn't do that right now. So having a smaller, more intimate one is so perfect for volleyball. It's kind of that happy medium. And that's why I love the field house, because it's the right size to a group that we get like consistently. Of course, we have bigger games where we're going to sell out all the time, but our Sunday 1:00 games, it's the perfect size to where we can still get a decent amount of people and have it feel packed. So I love it. I'm going to rank it number one, of course. I'm going to be sad when they tear it down. I think it's like a perfect mixture of, it's old. It's been there for a long time, but I'm definitely going to be sad when they replace it, because it's it's oldness, all of it. It's like its charm. It's what makes it the field house. So yeah.
So does the closeness of the crowd in the field house, like, I thought as a fan, like, where it would get really loud when, like, a point was scored, does it, because the fans are so close, is it like different in that like setting when like the fans are basically on top of the court? Does that noise play an extra factor for like the home team?
Yes, for sure. And for the better. I love it.
Yeah.
And it's this weird mix of emotions to where sometimes you don't even notice the crowd there. And then because you're like so in the moment, and other times where like I literally had to force myself to like sit down and like take it all in and be like, this is unbelievable. And then there are plays where it's like where you just feel the crowd, or maybe you're down and that crowd like brings you back up. It definitely plays a role. Whereas in other arenas, when there's so much space, it's maybe a little bit more, I don't know if intimidating is the right word, but just a little more disconnected, because you just don't feel like you have that like connection with the crowd. And that goes whether, sometimes if there's a closer arena where you are more on top of them and you have a home crowd, like you can feel them. Whereas if you're in a huge arena and you still have a pretty big home crowd, it's harder to feel.
Right. Okay. So I want to move on to my next question about, so talking about next year and the future of the program, right? Because obviously the tournament run last year was awesome. Final Four is, the banners hang forever. So I'm going to read something I got from the official NCAA volleyball site, which had Pittsburgh ranked number 9 going into next year. Mm-hmm. And it comments on the run, how good it was, but Pitt is losing obviously Chinasa Ndi, Kylie Levers, and Legator member Manet. So as now a spectator, what's the, like, obviously the expectation now is to get into the tournament and go deep again. Yep. But who are the possible breakout players? Like, who are the big names to know as far as the 2022 team?
Yeah, this team I think is going to be really, really impressive. And I think they're a little bit under their radar right now because us fifth years are leaving. But they are replacing, all four of us girls who are leaving are under 6 feet tall. They are replacing us with like 6'5" beasts. Like our replacements are not like nobodies. They're not newcomers. They're not unexperienced. These girls are unbelievable. And I've been able to train with them this summer and in the spring and stuff. And, we're bringing back a decent amount of our roster, but then those girls that are replacing us are going to be unbelievable, especially under the coach's training and getting like some months under Pitt's training. And so I'm really excited for them. Courtney Bazario, who's coming from Iowa, she's 6'5", she's a right side. She's gonna be replacing Chi, who's 5'10", 5'11" on a good day. So, and Juliana, who's coming from Washington State. She's a 6'5" outside hitter who's replacing me and Lek. So they're going to be just fine. I'm excited to see them. Our middle, we're stacked everywhere. We have a deep roster. Our outsides are both. Valeria used to play before we had Lek, and so she has experience. She knows what it's like to be out there. She's on the Puerto Rican national team. She's a really good player, really good all-around player, consistent. And so I think our outsides are going to have to be really good. And I know that they can be, and I'm excited just to see how they kind of take over, because they're obviously they're different players than Lek and I. Lek and I are like, we try to crush the ball every single time. Whereas Juliana and Valeria, they're really consistent players. They're really good over time. They're going to make shots. They're going to get like trick shots. They're just going to be consistently good. And so it'll be cool to see kind of maybe, and then of course they'll have like big hammers and smash it when they need to, but it'll be kind of cool to see maybe that shift of, they're really intelligent players. So I'm excited to see them step up. On the outside, our middles, we have a decent amount of middles. Sometimes they play middle, sometimes they play right side. We have just like a really loaded area where girls can do both. And so I'm excited to see who gets in there. I'm not sure what her starting lineup is even going to be. I'm really excited. Our liberos are going to battle it out between Ashley, who was our libero last year, and Emmy, who was a freshman last year. They're going to battle it out. They're both really good. Our setters, same setters, they're going to be running a sweet offense. They'll have to adjust because they'll be setting taller girls now, but it'll be really fun to watch. But I mean, I can't think of anybody in particular that's like, hey, watch out for them. But just because I think we're going to be really good all the way around. And we'll have standout players like Serena in the middle and our 6'5" girls, but I don't think we'll really have like a weak spot. And not that we did like last year, but these girls are going to be really, I'm really excited to see them.
All right. Yeah, me too. Okay. So I know that you guys played Penn State, you played in the tournament, and there were a couple of matches you had before that. Are there any other like rivalries in volleyball within the ACC that developed over your career?
Yeah, I would say this is a tough one. I would say there maybe used to be, but now I would say they're like really like, I don't know if this is even a thing, like a healthy rivalry, like teams that we like love. Obviously we want to beat everybody, but there's not really any like bad blood rivalries. Playing against Louisville is always so much fun. We want to play against Louisville as much as we can. We want to play them at their home, at our home. They're going to be a huge test. They're obviously an amazing team. Playing Georgia Tech, we always look forward to that. So there's not really any teams where we're like, oh gosh, we have to play them this week, or like, oh my gosh, this is going to be terrible. Like everybody in the ACC now is really good, and that's what we want, and that's what we love. But maybe I feel like it used to be at the beginning of my career, like we had weird beef with Georgia Tech, but not really. I think that was like an older girl thing, like that I didn't even really get. Now, like everybody my age, we like love playing them and love talking with them, and they're amazing players. Like there hasn't really been any bad blood rivalries that I can think of. It's all been pretty like good competitive fun that now I'm like, oh yeah, I want to play Georgia Tech there. It's going to be such a fun game. I want to play Louisville, such a fun game. I mean, a lot of teams in the ACC now are just getting so good, which is exactly what we want. It's so much fun.
So it's more like a big game, big test, like getting up for a big game rivalry more than like a backyard brawl rivalry.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. Okay. Now for questions for you. I know you were on Team USA last year. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did their like collegiate roster, so they're like collegiate national team.
Okay. So like moving forward, are you still going to be with Team USA, and then like are you going pro like other players have from the Pitt program?
Yes, I am going pro. I leave literally Sunday, August 14th. I'm currently packing. So I'm going to Switzerland. I'm playing in Neuchâtel. I am so excited. I'm so ready. The team is awesome. The coaching staff is awesome. I've heard only good things from past and current players that are there. They're 3-time Swiss champs. They're in the top league in Europe volleyball, and so I'm really excited to get there and just like play again and compete again. So that's what I'll be doing. And then for Team USA does stuff throughout the summers, and so I would love to kind of work my way back in there. I'm gonna have to have a good first season, and if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm gonna work in hopes that it does happen. If it doesn't, it won't be like the end of the world, and I'm gonna continue playing and continue to try to prove myself. But obviously, our team, our Olympic team, is unbelievable, and they're stacked, and they just won a gold medal, and so we have a really good team. And so even to like get into the practice gym I'd be lucky to do. So if it happens, I'm going to be over the moon. And if it doesn't, I'm going to keep grinding and we'll maybe work our way in there. But for now, I'm just going to focus on this first pro season and have just do my best to have a really good year and first rookie year, and then see where that takes me.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, one final question, because this is mainly a football podcast. Mm-hmm. What is your prediction for Pitt this year?
I would love to see another championship. I think we're going to be good. I'm interested to see how they do with, new players and transfer portal and all of that. I'm excited to see them. I think obviously Kenny leaving is good, Kenny leaving is bad, but Kenny leaving is going to hurt, but we have good players like behind him that I'm excited to see. I don't know who they're going to start.
I think it's going to be Keaton Slovis, the guy from Southern Carolina. Yeah. California.
USA. So you think they will start him over Patty?
So that's the reporting that they're doing. Like from camp, it seems like he's getting the first team reps, and then the other thing is that they did like this NIL collective where fans can donate X amount per month, and it goes directly to the players. They're giving away Keaton Slovis jerseys, and one would think that they wouldn't be giving away the backup quarterback's jersey.
Yeah.
But I think Coach Narduzzi is going to be as secretive as he can going into a rivalry game week 1 about who's starting. So
yeah, I'm excited. I think they'll be good. I think they're going to struggle sometimes in typical Pitt football fashion and just have like weird like mess ups and weird blips that whatever just happened for them, unfortunately. But I think overall I'm hoping for like a good put together season with like a good finish. A bowl game win would be big. that's my hopes for them.
All right, we're gonna go with your original prediction of another ACC championship being cool. You heard it here first. We're going back to back.
I love that.
All right, now I'm going to let you plug anything that you have where people can follow you on social media, your new team, anything like that.
Sweet. Yeah, my Instagram is Kayla.Lund, Kayla.Lund, Lund. It's super easy. Most of my stuff is there. My new team is at Nuke Volley, NUC Volley, Volley. It's in my bio. You guys can find it there. That's mostly where I am. Instagram is my big thing. I'm on Twitter, but I don't really use it a lot. I don't even know my handle. So that's where you'll find me. That's where I'll post about all my pro stuff and what I'm doing from here on out.
All right, awesome. Everyone go make sure to follow her. Kayla, it'd be great to have you back on when Pitt makes the NCAA tournament again.
Yes, I would love that. We can do like a live session of when they're playing. I'll commentate it for you.
That'd be my first venture into sports broadcasting, and you'd have to carry it by actually knowing all the terms and stuff because you played. And like, that was cool as hell.
You'd be like, yeah, do that again.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. We'll see. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Hail to Pitt.